hope my wife doesn't see this video. That is terrifying. Whoa! Why is it taking me so long to get my 240SX finished? And I'm not gonna give myself too hard of a time. It's about 95% of the way there. I've been driving it around, enjoying it quite a bit so far, but there's still like 5 little things that need to be dealt with before I call it done. And it's the typical project car scenario where things don't show up in the mail when they're supposed to, things don't fit, things that I thought were sorted out keep breaking. This episode, we're gonna get it all sorted out. We're gonna get a new valve cover for the car so it stops leaking. I'm gonna put a new axle boot on it because the axle boot is torn in the rear. I need turn signals for it. I got some new center caps that are kind of cool, but I promise you this, by the end of this video, this car is gonna be finished no matter how long it takes. Unfortunately, on a car like this, axles kind of become a consumable when the car is slammed, and even though I'm on air ride, I still like to drive it really low. If you let the boots tear and you don't fix the boots right away, the grease gets flung all over the place, and that will prematurely damage the axle, which is exactly what's happening here. So today, instead of just replacing the whole thing for $100, I got a boot that was 30 bucks, and we're gonna see if we can just slide a new one on there and hopefully prevent that axle from breaking as quickly. So I actually kept my old axles that I had pulled out 2 years before, and here's the tool that I'm gonna use to replace this. You effectively just do it without taking the axle off the differential. You can kind of get an idea how this works. Hopefully it's big enough because I think this is actually made for an ATV. The reason this boot failed wasn't actually because the car is so low, but it's because this upper control arm sagged and it kind of twisted so that it was resting on this boot. Maybe the problem is the Heim joint just isn't tight on the adjustment thread, and that's what caused it to sag. Either way, I need to figure out what the problem is here so it doesn't happen again. That is terrifying. Whoa, wow. All right, he made that look way too easy. We're gonna knock this out in like 5 minutes. I'm sure a few of you have done axles before. If you haven't, make sure the first thing you do is look up what size nut the axle has, because you're probably gonna need to go out and buy a massive socket like this. Mine's a 36 millimeter, so you can buy these little sets that have a couple of them. This thing's definitely come in handy a few times. I've used these on my E30, my Quattro, all that stuff, so it's always nice to have a couple of odd sizes in the toolbox. You can definitely see this gigantic hole in the boot now pretty well, and it's kind of hilarious how it tore. It looks like a little grenade went off inside of here. Our cone device is gonna work, and I'll tell you why. The boot only needs to slide over this part of the axle, not the entire thing. I don't think I have any muscle relaxers, unfortunately. Oh, put it on backwards. We're just gonna have to take the CV joint apart, which isn't a big deal, but kind of negated the whole point. You saw how easily I got that CV joint apart, and when I ordered all this stuff, I didn't realize that you could actually do that. That's really cool to know. I don't have to keep this thing. I can maybe just store it away somewhere, maybe in the Quattro parts, and use it on that car if I ever do the boots on that ever again. So I'll put this back on the right way, the way it's supposed to go, and then we'll slap this all back together and figure out what's up with this upper control arm. Definitely looks like this upper control arm is missing a nut on the Heim joint, and that's why it's rotating like that. I might still have the nut, so I'm gonna take a look in my drawer full of nuts and bolts and see if I can find it, and then we'll put this whole thing back together and move on to the next thing. I wonder how that happened. So let's move on to something really easy. And if you remember on the last episode, I installed these center lock looking hex caps. These replace the OEM hex caps that come with the BBS RSs, and they're really cool. The only problem is the stock BBS center caps don't fit in them. These are like 70 millimeter. These need like a 52 or something like that. So I went on Etsy and ordered some new center caps, and instead of just getting BBS ones, I thought it would be funny to get something like this. And if you want to hate on it, go ahead. That's totally fine. I understand, but thought it would be really funny to put this little horse logo on here that is owned by a pretentious Italian brand. So I'm gonna send it like that. You know, I think the car will look really good with purple and yellow, and maybe I'll get a cease and desist. Really happy I got that axle all fixed up last week. It's always a nice thing to know how to do, and also just one less thing to worry about on this car. I also got the bumper fixed up. I got it wrapped and put some foam inside the inside of it, because it turns out these Car Modify Wonder Glare body kits are actually pretty fragile, and when you hit little things in the road with a low car like this, they get smashed up pretty easy. So that foam will help kind of keep the bumper from flexing too much and cracking so easily. I also got the lip wrapped and that installed, so it looks pretty great now. Now that the outside of the car is finished up, I'm gonna work on something on the inside, and that's this leaky valve cover. When I installed the valve cover, I didn't know that you were supposed to put some kind of engine sealant on these little half moon cutouts. I've got a brand new, well, a new to me valve cover ready to go because a bolt was broken off in this valve cover that's supposed to hold one of the coil packs on, and that's really not good. If that thing pops out, the car develops a misfire and it's almost undrivable. So before I take this thing drifting, I wanna fix those two things. I'm gonna install this new valve cover after I paint it, do a little oil change, and for the most part, it'll be all squared away performance-wise, and then we'll move on to the other few things I have for it. This is totally one of those typical things that I always do where I take something as simple as changing the oil on my car and I make it way overcomplicated. Getting this new valve cover painted turned out to be kind of a difficult process, getting all the old paint taken off of it. So I got some paint stripper and that actually worked pretty good. But then I got paranoid. I was hoping that a lot of it didn't get inside too much of the valve cover, so I put it inside my dishwasher and I've got it right here. Let's see if it's nice and clean. It sounds ridiculous, but I think it probably worked pretty well. It's a very interesting color, that's for sure. Oh man, it's really hot. I need some gloves. This thing is really, really clean. I hope my wife doesn't see this video, but honestly, there was dishes in the dishwasher and they're really clean too, so whatever. The only thing is it left this like interesting kind of residue on here, but I wouldn't be surprised if just like a little bit of brake cleaner and some paper towel got it right off. Yeah, it's really, really clean. I'm just a tiny bit worried that the paint is gonna do something weird now. So the paint on the valve cover came out really good. For whatever reason, that paint just lays down really easily. I don't know why, but I wasn't expecting it to be flat, which is kind of cool. I guess an engine, this is like engine paint, so an engine would normally be flat. And I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm on the fence about the color. It's kind of boring. Usually everything on my 240 is very wow and interesting. This isn't exactly that. I'm sure it'll look a little more interesting when those red coil packs are in here. But for now, all I'm really worried about is getting this thing on there so that it doesn't leak. I just want to be able to enjoy the car and beat on it, go take it drifting and not have it drip oil all over the place. I am so PTSD about cracking this valve cover. I have the torque wrench set to 4 foot-pounds. That silver valve cover with the red coil packs actually looks pretty sick. I'm really happy with it. Tomorrow I'll take it for a little drive, do a couple heat cycles, hope it holds, no more oil leaks. I've had problems with this car's windows not rolling up and down for probably about 5 years now, and I've done just about everything I can think of. I've tested the window regulators and those are fine. I replaced the window amplifier with 2 relays, which is a common fix that a lot of people do. But I think the real problem here is with the driver's side switch is starting to go out, and finally it bit the big one. I hit my knee on here and broke one of the switches off. Now the thing is kind of shorting out, and every time I drive the car, I can hear it constantly trying to roll the window up, like the relay is turning on and off. So we're gonna try this other fix, and I'm excited to see it. I found these guys on eBay, and they make this 3D printed part with some universal switches and harnesses. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna use this piece because I have door panels. I'm probably gonna cut it up. This is meant for an OEM door panel, which is really cool. And they sell these for 120 bucks for the pair, which I think is really reasonable. I'm gonna start pulling this door apart and we can assess here what's up with the wiring. Hopefully it's pretty simple. The guy that makes these is from Alabama, so I'm pretty sure if I need any help, I can probably just message him on Instagram and he'd be happy to hit me back pretty quickly. I'm just gonna start poking some wires in here and see if I can get anything to work. I'm a little bit nervous, but I think this should be pretty easy. It's been a long time since that's worked. I don't like how bulky butt connectors are, and it's not like I'm wiring up an ECU here, so I'm gonna stick with the soldering iron. If one of these fails a few years from now, I'm sure I can diagnose it pretty easily. Last thing to do on this driver's door is to install the door lock switch. This one was also becoming a little bit intermittent, and it's all part of the window switch system, so kind of have to replace all of it. It's not really something that's absolutely necessary since you can unlock the doors manually, but it'll be nice for it to work. All right, everything's working on this side. It's time to figure out what I'm gonna do with the door panel. So you might have been wondering how I'm gonna get this pretty nice looking bezel that they made that looks almost like the OEM one to fit into my non-OEM door panel. I think I'm just gonna cut it. Sorry guys. It's all fitting pretty well now with a little bit of trimming. Maybe in the future I'll make one out of carbon fiber or something cool like that, because I would love to rotate the switches 90 degrees so that they're up and down. I just need to make sure for now that I've got the right one plugged in, right where I want it. It's looking good. There's a long story about how I ordered some sequential LED turn signals about 6 months ago, and these guys took my $400 and never delivered them. So today we're gonna install these cheapo Circuit Sport ones. What's great about these being cheap is obviously you don't have to worry about breaking them, but I might actually be comfortable enough to take a whack at making my own sequential LED turn signals one day. I think that'd be a pretty fun project. I've never had a Kooky before, so I'm not even sure exactly how these are all supposed to fit, whether it's supposed to be flush here or recessed. So I'm just gonna do what I think looks best, and then we'll wire these up. That's not good. There we go. Not too hard. That was actually pretty easy, but I forgot to order the bulb sockets for these turn signals. Luckily, they use the same type of socket as the corner marker, which I'm not using on this car. So I'm gonna cannibalize those. These will fit right in here just like that. And then I found some amber bulbs I can stick in there, and I think that'll look pretty cool. Seems like I saved all the easiest stuff for last, which is really nice. The turn signals are all finished up and they look great. Definitely makes the car feel a lot more complete now. Since I got the hood up, I'm gonna install the last easy thing. These are air diversion panels from GK Tech. I was thinking about making my own, but these are pretty affordable, so I just grabbed a set of them. This doesn't really do a whole lot. It's mostly just aesthetic. They say that it helps divert air from going up into your hood and rather keeping it down low by the radiator, forcing all that air through the radiator when you're driving fast. But for me, it's mostly just about making the engine bay look cool. Well, I guess this is the last episode for my 240SX now that it's finished. But you all know that's not true. This car is always evolving, always being improved. And I'm always looking for a new way to have fun with it. So I'm excited to announce that I'm finally gonna start taking this car to some open drift events and giving it the real thrashing that it deserves. I spent a lot of time and money on this car, making it a drift car, but I never really take it drifting. And I've definitely driven it on the streets plenty, but there's only so much fun you can really have. And I really want to take it in a safe environment where I can just give it a good thrashing without having to hold back. So starting in October, I'm gonna bring this to Spirit Peaks. It's a raceway up in Washington where they have an open drift event. And we're gonna shake this thing down and see how it goes. So check your polarizer.